All right, everyone, I want to thank you for joining this evening. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your commitment to the board with this direct service in terms of helping us go through the process of electing our leadership for the upcoming year. So calling the meeting to order. The time is now 7:17. First order of business, I'm just going to take roll call. Nicholas Almanor.
Present.
Bishop Hamilton Gonzalez.
Present.
Courtney Loisel.
Present.
Debbie Timothy.
Present.
Twyla Ware. Twyla is not here, so hopefully she'll join us shortly. But with that, we have a quorum of the nominations committee. And just for the record as well, so per the process, the nominations committee was impaneled at our April general board meeting. So there were 5 members who were impaneled. And just as an update as well, so we did have one of the people who was impaneled. Unfortunately, she's no longer on the board. So I made the appointment, and Courtney Loisel was gracious enough to accept. So she's joining the nominations committee. She's going to be helping us with this process. So thank you very much for joining us. Okay. So again, so this is a really, really important time where we're going to be selecting the leadership for the board. Let us do this first. In terms of, let's go to the next step, item 2, in terms of electing a nominations committee chair. And then what we'll do is, from that point, we'll go through the packet, and we'll talk about the entire process in whole, and we'll talk about the steps that the committee's gonna have to do. All right? It's a formal thing, but it's very informal as well.
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion. I need Debbie Timothy as chair.
Okay.
I'm already chairing the committee.
Now, this is a very short time.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna tell you why I do that, based on I've known you for so long, even before CD9, and then for the kind of work you do for the city.
All right. Well, hold on. So we'll give you a chance for a nominating speech. But, so Debbie Timothy, nominated by Nicholas Almanor. Do we have a second?
I'll
Actually,
second. I
Okay.
can't second,
You know what, actually, let me fall back. We don't need a second for that. Do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay, so Debbie Timothy accepts. Is there anybody who wishes to run for chair? This is where everybody steps back and says. Yeah, are we sure? Is there anyone else who wishes to run for chair? Okay,
Seeing none.
okay, hearing no other nominations. Our first vote will be this. I'll entertain a motion to close the nominations on the name of Debbie Timothy for chair of the nomination committee. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Nicholas Almanor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Courtney Loisel. Any objection to common consent to close the nominations? Okay, hearing no objection, it's closed, one name, and I'll take one final motion to elect Debbie Timothy as chair. One final motion.
I move to elect Debbie Timothy as chair.
Okay.
Yes.
Moved by Courtney Loisel. Do I have a second?
Second by.
Yes.
Second by Bishop Hamilton Gonzalez. All right, moved and seconded. Any objection to common consent? Hearing none, Debbie Timothy, thank you very much. You'll be serving as chair of the nominations committee for this.
Congratulations.
All right then. So I'm going to continue just in terms of discussing the process, but after this, Madam Chair, we'll help, guide the conversation for the committee. All right, so our nominations process and our elections process is dictated by the bylaws for CV9. So does everyone have a packet? There was a packet that we printed up. Does everyone have a copy of the packet?
Right here, chair.
I didn't get a packet.
I think there might be an extra. That one's good? That one? All right, it's a couple of pages, but we're gonna run through it very quickly, and there's a number of these steps that we've actually already done. So, first, again, this is something that's dictated by our bylaws, specifically Article 6, Section 6.1, 6.2, and Section 5.4 is also gonna come into play, because I believe that talks about the qualifications for who can actually serve as an officer for the board. So, in summary, so we have 7 positions for the executive committee. The chairperson, we have the first and second vice chairs, we have the executive secretary, we have a treasurer, and we have 2 members of ours that we elect. Okay? Each officer shall be elected from the appointed members of the board, shall serve a 1-year term commencing on July 1st. So all terms expire, so everyone's term expires as of June 30th. So the new officers would take place as of July first, the new officers for the board. Okay, and shall serve until a qualified successor is elected. A qualified successor shall be a member of the board, and this is again part of those qualifications, who has served at least 1 full year on the board and is in compliance with Article 5, Section 5.4. So 5.4, and I correct myself, 5.4 talks about attendance. So basically to be an officer, you're supposed to, I mean, it just basically means you're in good standing, so you don't have any attendance issues.
You're also supposed to serve on one committee
Correct.
in the year previous.
Correct, so that's the attendance we're looking at. Okay, all right, so now, we're gonna go through the nominations committee timelines. So we're already through the first couple of points. So the first one was the impaneling of the nominations committee, which we've done, so that's checked off. Now we are at the nomination committee where you elected your chairperson, so item 1 is completed. And then the next item that we're gonna have to get to is, actually creating the slate. So this means we are going to you're gonna responsible for canvassing the board, contacting board members and just saying, are you interested in running for a position? At that point, we'll take the names, you'll compile a list of all those people who want to run for an officer position, and that will be presented at the May meeting. So at the end of this month, that will be presented. All right, so typically, and what this means for the committee is that usually we'll do a first run to identify anybody who wishes to run. In years past, we used to do this all phone calls. In recent years, we've said, listen, it's probably sufficient to just send an email out to the board, and those who wish to, to run will respond. And then afterwards, the committee can identify who hasn't responded, and then you'll make you can split it up amongst yourselves and just do cold calling and just say, okay, well, listen, we just want to follow up to see if you're interested in the candidate position.
Last year they called everybody.
Technology.
They've always called everybody.
No, I don't think so.
No.
My experience has been, we
I've
call
always
people
gotten a
and they-
call.
Oh,
I-
maybe you didn't respond to the email.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I always respond.
Okay. But,
I think they should be called.
well, here's the thing, I think part of the idea is that we also want to make sure we're respectful of the time, because instead of having you call 50 members or 30 some odd members, depending on how many are eligible, most people, it's easier to just let them identify the fact that they were willing to run. So instead of calling 30 people, if you've only got to call 15 or 20, it's less onerous for the committee. So we want to make sure we're able to accomplish the spirit of this, but at the same time, make sure that, because you're already serving on committees as well, and doing whatever work for the board. So we want to make sure it's easy enough, something manageable in terms of being able to get that done.
You served on a committee before, this committee?
Yes.
Did anybody else?
I was the chair of the nominations committee for many years.
Did you call people or email?
We called and we emailed.
Yeah, it's not out of order, we've done it before, I've chaired nominations committees as well, so it's not out of order.
I just like the personal touch, since it's a serious commitment.
But you're gonna have to like technology too,
Right.
because
Make
it's
it all
really
easier and
world.
faster.
That's how, yeah,
It's a
that's how
data
people,
world,
yeah.
and people will pay more attention to their email and
And that's your
respond
confirmation that you
Right.
said something to someone and you didn't receive a response.
than a phone call.
Yeah, and to be clear, I mean, I think that, there's room in this for, if people have questions, if there are things they want to know about the process or anything, I mean, those are legitimate things, and we can do those phone calls, so that doesn't preclude a phone call. But I'm just saying is, again, I just wanna be mindful of, we're at May 8th today, 7th?
8th.
We're at May 8th, and we need to have this done by the board meeting on May 28th. Is that right?
Yes.
May 28th.
Yes.
So I just wanna be respectful of that, and remember, we're gonna lose days, because typically, and that's part of the process, we try not to contact over the holiday, the weekends. We try to be respectful of religious observances and everything, so the amount of working days gets short very quickly. Plus, we wanna make sure, you probably would want to discuss getting at least one more meeting in to discuss who's responded, who hasn't, and how you're gonna divide that as a committee. So that's part of the reason why, we're recommending this route, so that way it gets done, but it's not something that's gonna run you back. Okay?
I have one question
Oh, yes.
about, attendance in previous committees. I know that one of the members at large last time did not serve on a committee and had no attendance at any committee in the previous session. So, it doesn't seem like the nominations committee discovered that when they chose him, said it was okay for him to run. I imagine somebody should have, like it says in the bylaws, should have served on a committee and been in attendance at that committee. However, I could not find, I looked through I read all the, meeting minutes, and there was no committee served or attended.
I'm not sure of, if it's a member at large as an officer, typically, as long as they have satisfactory attendance at the executive committee meetings, that satisfies that requirement.
But he wasn't on the executive committee, had no attendance,
And had
wasn't
no-
on any committee.
I can't speak to the circumstance on that, but I think,
You can look it up, it's kind of
well,
weird.
listen, in the interest of time.
It's a little weird, but I just
Understood, Ms. Westphal.
wanna make sure
Understood,
that,
in the interest of time, I mean.
just look, can I finish? I just wanna make sure that everybody checks attendance of the person and make sure they did serve on a committee and they did attend.
And if I
that's
can
all.
finish, yeah, we'll talk about all the requirements the committee has to do. Thank you, Ms. Westbrook. Okay, so, target is for May to make those contacts and have your list of all those who responded in terms of they wish to serve on the, to run for office. At the May board meeting, what will happen is, we open the floor. So, I mean, even though if people haven't responded, or for some reason, even if they haven't been contacted, there is always still that opportunity for them to express their desire to run for a position. And that's not held against them. At that point, they can add it to the ballot, and that ballot will be what we vote on in the June meeting. Okay? And then I guess that last point, so in June, so per the bylaws, 6.2, that's when we're scheduled to do that. Officers are elected by majority vote of the members present by signed paper ballot, as per our bylaws. And if a candidate does not receive a majority vote, a runoff election shall be held immediately at the same meeting between the two candidates receiving the highest number of votes for that office. Okay, so they have to receive a majority vote. Now, when it comes to member at large, basically we're talking about, winning candidates need to get at least 50% of the vote, 51% of the vote. So 50% plus one. So if for some reason we have multiple candidates and nobody gets that, top two go on for a runoff and they do that. That's some of the logistics that we'll also talk about probably at your next meeting. There'll probably be a meeting after the May general board, and we'll just talk about the logistics for that. Your work is probably not as heavy after that. Perhaps there's one more meeting, and maybe that might even just be to discuss a couple of logistics. And we'll talk about a little bit about what role the nominations committee plays as part of the election process. Well, we will talk about that. Okay, all right, so, if we look at that next one, so, most of the stuff that we talked about, and this breaks it out as tasks, roles, and responsibilities. So again, April, we're done, the committee's in panel. May, the jobs are gonna be confirming your meeting dates and times, we've already got the first one, so your next item of business in this meeting will be to confirm when do you wanna meet again. Selecting the chair, you've already done. Obtain the membership list from the district office. The district manager will make sure you get that, so you'll have access to that. The only thing I would say about that is, please remember, this is board members' private information, personal information, so please make sure not to share the information or distribute. All right, only for the purposes of contacting to request whether they, to ascertain if they want to run for an office. Okay, all right, so you're gonna assign members to do the canvas, so, but again, I think that, the outreach should include at least 2 contacts by phone or a combination of phone and email. If you send an email and they respond, guess what, they're your contact and they're good. If they haven't done that, again, that's where we go to the phones. But we're requesting at least 2 contacts, okay? Prepare a report for the general board meeting with all confirmed candidates. Again, you'll just tell us what your results were. And at that meeting, give a report on the process followed and announce a list of confirmed candidates. So, and we'll help you with the, we'll help you with generating that report. So it's basically gonna state, this committee was impaneled in April on this date. First time the committee met was on this date, on May 8th. Second time the committee met was on this date, and this is what we did. These are the contacts that were done, this is it, and that's it. It's pretty pro forma, and we'll help you develop that as well. So it's a pretty standard report, and I think we have a template for that as well. Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted some clarification. Are they gonna give us the, we're gonna get a list from the office here, and then we're going to just state that email address and send a note? Or is it gonna come from the office that?
We can have it come directly from the office.
Okay.
So I mean, I think we can, one of the things you can do is just kind of determine, I think there should be a draft of what we've sent out before.
Okay.
I
It is
think they had a
right here.
Google form the
Yeah.
last time they sent out in the email where people would fill in the information, I think.
It is, was it a rule form last time?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yes.
Okay. Even better. So that works even better, and the district office can help you with that. They can set up a Google form and roll to board members.
Right,
So you just ask which position or
Right.
positions, you can actually decide to run for more than one.
exactly, and then you click in
You
and all
click
this
whichever
stuff.
ones you
mixed
want,
in.
or we can even put a box there, I do not wish to run for
With
district
two,
office.
exactly.
And then there can be nominations in addition at the meeting.
At the general one,
Correct.
yes, as provided.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay, yep, nominations at the May meeting, once nominations are closed, read the list of the nominations, and remember, and again, this will be something we'll remind the board members as well, we don't do additional nominations, we don't reopen the floor in June. So that's a bylaws thing, I know some places where it's like, oh no, I can nominate from the floor in June, and you can do that, not per our bylaws. Now, the one thing that we'll say is, you know, members can vote for whoever they want to. So typically on the ballot, we will leave a slot for, if you want to choose somebody else, that's a possibility as well. So somebody else can run, you know, you can write in candidates. But they're not, we don't add them to the ballot after the May meeting, okay? All right, yeah. And then in June, the elections, so, and it's funny, because I know we've been doing this electronically, so this is kind of.
Yeah, that was the
funny.
question.
No, it was not electronically last time, remember?
Yes, it was.
No, last year.
No,
we
it
did the
was
paper.
not.
Last year was the first
It
time.
was
we were back
paper,
then.
no, I was not there
Yeah.
on that time.
And
Right.
it was
I missed that
also,
meeting.
they lost quorum, so I know,
That
because I
is-
ran against Nicholas, we ran against each other actually.
Right.
And they lost quorum, so they had to redo, they didn't finish the vote you're supposed to
Correct.
report
We
in an
couldn't
open
do-
meeting and the bylaws.
We couldn't do the runoff.
Because they lost quorum, we reran
In the next meeting.
in the next term.
Correct.
So, just so you're aware of that, and I think also, just for clarity, I think that there was a problem because somebody who was on the committee also ran, and, I didn't read this lawsuit, so I don't know exactly what it says, but they made a lawsuit against the people that did it, Primo, and now he's gone. So I hope that, and then
Well-
they talked about that at the last executive
Well,
meeting, and
I'm
they said they
planning
weren't
to
gonna
run
do
for
it.
member at large again, so then you have that situation.
Yes, I just want you to know.
But I
that-
think, well, we checked already with the legal and all this
Absolutely,
stuff.
and,
I
It's
just wanna make
and
perfect.
sure.
as, and as we're on that topic,
Because the executive board, when you weren't there, Fred, they talked about it, and they said it was inappropriate. I mean, they all voted, and then you tabled it at the board meeting. They said, in the executive meeting, they had a vote on it, so they had a vote.
right, no, the vote.
They said they weren't gonna do it, and then you did it,
What-
so I don't know, I just
Ms.
want
Westphal,
everybody
Ms.
to
Westphal,
know.
Ms.
Can we
Westphal,
move
Ms.
on
Westphal,
with
please,
this?
please.
Well, it's important, Debbie.
Oh, okay.
I understand, but, you know, we
Understood, but-
need to stay on.
And let's do this, let's make sure we're on the stay on point, and let's wait to be recognized first, okay? After I get through this piece of information, it's gonna get turned over to Sheriff Timothy, and she'll take it over from there, and she'll guide that conversation, but just from this point. To Mr. Almore's point, absolutely, this is something we've actually vetted before with Corporation Council. There is no prohibition for our bylaws or by any other rules where a member of the nomination committee cannot run for a position. The only thing that would happen to avoid a conflict is a member of the committee who is running for a position needs to recuse themselves from touching any ballots.
That's right.
So that person at
That
that
is
time is
correct.
recused from touching a ballot.
Yeah,
And, you know, and that will be one of the meetings that, you know, we'll have a conversation with the nomination committee in terms of what roles people are playing with that, who's gonna be doing tallies, who's gonna be selecting ballots, and things of that nature. And at that point, if somebody is running, if they declare their candidacy and they're a candidate on the ballot, they cannot touch at that point. And we will make sure we make that announcement and make it clear at the June meeting. Okay, are we clear? Okay,
yeah, I do.
all right.
Can I just make one more point?
Sure, go ahead.
When I went to the CEC workshop that Ben Solitaire had for all the community board residents, and they did a Robert's Rules of Order workshop, and they were going over executive committee versus the other committees. And I brought this up before, but I just want people to think about it, is that the executive meeting, according to Robert's Rules of Order, the executive committee serves at the leisure of the board and isn't considered a committee, but, you know, Fred says otherwise, but I just want you to examine that and think about it. So if you're on the executive board, it's not considered a committee, even though it's an executive committee, it serves at the leisure of the board. That's the language in Robert's Rules of Order. So the executive, it's not, doesn't count as a committee, so you, in addition to being on the executive committee, you should serve on another committee. I think that's the ideal of a community board, but it seems like some people don't do that. So I find that anybody who's on the community board, if you're on the executive, you should serve on a committee, that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Wetzel. So, I think we've identified all the roles that have to happen.
Right.
Yeah, so these are the action items, and this is the workflow, the flow in terms of the way this is gonna go. Are there any questions with respect to that, or are there any technical questions as well?
The list of people that we're reaching out to, are they gonna be screened by the board? Like, will we know they're eligible when we receive them? I guess that's what I'm asking. My question is.
Here's the thing, part of what we probably need to do is when we consider the canvas, I think that one, we send out, and we'll probably put some language in it, when we get to that, we'll talk about it, is if you have just joined the board, you are not eligible
Yeah,
to run.
Okay.
And we'll probably put, if there's a,
You
if
have to
there's a
serve
Google
for a
form.
year, if it's the rule, right?
Understood, yeah. So probably what is a good thing to do is put a checkbox on there, so if you wish to run for chairperson, treasurer, member at large, you can do so. Or, if you are not even eligible, and we can put language in saying if you just got appointed, you can't run.
Right.
So perhaps, if people look at that first, it's like, just click the button that says I can't run.
Yeah, I think that should be there.
Yeah.
If you're doing a general mass meeting for all the board members.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you have to probably construct a specific list of the people that are eligible.
Right.
It's a couple of ways of doing, so you could do that, if we are using that Google form, you could put that first one.
Exactly.
How long you been on the board? If you're not eligible, so then you move on. So
Exactly.
that could be taken care of with
And,
that
and,
email.
and the good thing with the Google form is when you download it, you can do whatever cleanup you need to after that. It's like,
Yes.
oh no, that person's not eligible, we can do that, but at least that first communication is out. And most people will raise their hands, or you'll have several people who will raise their hands before you have to make phone calls. And again, I mean, I don't want anybody to be concerned about, this has to be pinpoint perfect, we have to get it absolutely right. There'll be opportunities to have conversations and clean it up.
Attendance is very important.
Well, do
Absolutely.
we have the
Well, I
form
think
to
the
look at to see what's
I
on
think
there?
the board president looking at attendance too, so you could see, so that's, that's what's so important.
Yeah, and I think it's fair conversation when we get to that point in the elections, it's a fair conversation, so that's fair. Okay, all right, I think we've gone through most of the, all right. So let's look at that last piece. So this is a draft solicitation. And I want you to feel free to make changes as well, and even to incorporate some of what we just discussed.
Which one were you?
I think the second to last page.
Yeah, that's second to last page.
I have a,
Midterm
also,
vacancies.
it's just, in the bylaws, it's not clear how many members at large there are, it just says members at large.
No, it says two.
Says
It
two.
says,
It says two.
no?
It says two, Mr.
Members at large, number 6. It just says members at large. 6.1, Article 6,
Can I see a
6.1,
copy? Can I see your copy?
6.
I'm sorry, just pass that down?
Got it, let's go.
That's my copy.
No, I'm sure I'll pass it back to you.
Don't read all my notes, those are my private notes.
Ms. Wilson, I'm not reading your notes, I'm looking at the bylaws.
I have private notes on it.
Where you pass the paper, there's my thing.
I always bring my copy of the bylaws.
Well, it's always attached to most of.
It's just something I noted.
Understood,
It doesn't say to anywhere.
okay, not a problem.
I know that's how it is, but I just wanted to bring that up, you know?
A lot of it is, remember that is also determined by what the rules of order.
Understood.
You have to, not have guidance from what the rules of order. But I think it can be more given.
Yeah, which is interesting, and I'll double check that, because I'm pretty sure we have, it as two somewhere in some of the documentation, I'll look into that.
It's just a point, you know, for
No, thank you for bringing the point.
if we do amendments in the future or.
No, thank you very much. Okay, all right, so yeah. So, hello CB9 member, and this is pretty straightforward. It says that we're notifying you that we're upcoming election. First task, nominations committee, board members who wish to be listed on the ballot. Tells you all the 7 positions. Action requested, so we try to do that so that way board members know what they need to do. If you're interested in running, please reply to this email, and we can change that, we can talk with Dante, so please, click the link, so we can probably put a link to the Google form. Click link to Google form. Okay, indicating, which officer, the other officer position, and we'll clean up the text too, so I have an opportunity to look. Of which, you would like your name on the ballot by, and we'll have to look at the calendar and figure out what daytime you wanna have that information. So that'll probably be sometime before your next meeting, so you decide what your next meeting date is, and then you just wanna make sure you get all the responses by that time. If you'd like to decline to run for any office, you can also respond to the email indicating that you do not wish to be a candidate. That's another box. So we can add 7 positions, or 6 positions, and member at large is one of them. We can add, I am not eligible to run for a position,
Right.
and we can add, I'm not interested in running for a position. So again, to the point where it makes life a little bit easier, at least people will give you what their decision is at that time. Okay, so we can make that change. The nomination committee will be following by phone to the, phone, email to each board member who has not responded. Yes, who has not responded.
As of the time and date that we
Yes.
will decide, okay.
Yes. And you'll put that same date. To ask if you would like to be considered at the May general board meeting, the committee will report to the board. Yeah, I don't know why we have a month, because it's always gonna be a May meeting. Okay. Yeah, so at the May meeting, the committee will report to the board. All those members who have declared their candidacy for an office, at that time, the floor will be open for additional nominations. Self-nominations are acceptable and seconds are not required. Okay? Please note that no nominations will be taken for during the election. Any additional information is provided below regarding qualifications to run for offices and the duties of officers. Please feel free to, contact the officer with your questions.
Should we add that someone would not be able to nominate themselves at the June meeting, just so it's clear?
We said it
No,
right
that's
here.
what it
Why
says.
can't
We
people?
said it right
nominate?
here.
They
Yeah,
can't?
no
Oh, I
nominations.
do.
Seven
Oh, got it,
nominations.
okay, sorry. I was-
Yeah.
Okay.
But people could nominate themselves
It's
and.
okay.
At the May meeting.
At the May meeting,
That's right.
today in this matter.
It'll be open. Okay?
Or we could nominate them.
And then some of
Yeah.
those, and then some of those pieces, that we're talking about, taken from the bylaws, so qualified successor, member of the board served at least 1 full year in compliance
Maybe
with the
that
articles.
please note should be bolded and underlined so people see that and it's not just all, it's on a separate line.
Right. Okay, bylaws, regarding regular attendance, duties of the officers shall be this, article, I'm sorry, I can't talk. But it gives you the list of the duties as defined in the bylaws, so the chairperson, it outlines a couple of things. First vice chair, second vice chair, it tells you what they do, executive secretary and treasurer, members at large are undefined, so that's not defined, so it's not in there. But the
There is something about members at large though, cause I remember reading it, there's something, there's like a write-up about what you do.
in the bylaws.
No, there's none in the bylaws.
Not in the
nothing.
bylaws, maybe it's on the website, because I.
It's
I
not
found
in the
something.
bylaws.
Well, it's not in the bylaws.
When
it's
I'm
Not in
in
the bylaws, that's something I have to take
Yeah.
pay attention to myself.
Yeah, it's not in the
Not.
bylaws.
I'm not
They
saying
are
it's
not
in the
defined.
bylaws, but it is somewhere, there's like.
In
the-
some, I've, like I said, I look into it, in some, people bylaws, or they define clearly what all of the member are like.
Maybe it was
but
in the
not our
information that
bylaws.
went out last year. I
You may
remember
find it
reading
in one of the
It's not-
rules of order and some other thing that is associated, and I think that's what some of the stuff I looked up.
Yeah, and listen, to that point, I mean, what we've done here is, instead of giving interpretations, these were taken directly out of the bylaws, so these are directly out of that section that talks about the responsibilities of the officers. If there's something else, I don't wanna necessarily put it in there, because we're trying to make sure this is something that is bylaws based. So we're trying to make sure we adhere as closely to the bylaws as we can in this process.
I would say, if there are specific things to do for the member at large, we have to change the bylaws, and I believe.
I would agree, that should be
Well,
something.
and
else.
it just says, it says members too. like-
Okay, no, understood, thank you. Okay, so are we good so far with this communication, the way it's drafted so far? All right, so what we'll do is, I'll
So you
communicate.
should probably remove that if you're adhering to the bylaws, the two on here. Because it isn't what it says in the bylaws.
We have typically elected the 2 members of the board, we'll look into it, thank you. So, hold on a second, what does that say, how many?
It just says members, doesn't say number.
Oh, members is 2 at least.
Well, you have
Member
three or
is
four.
one,
Members
is
two.
two,
It's two.
Members is not two, members is.
more than one.
More than one.
More than one.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't say two.
Some places they have more than two.
Yeah, they do. They
Right,
do.
so that's why it says members.
Members,
So
Yeah.
we could have 4, we could have 8, you know,
But which means we have to make that decision.
Right,
it just would be nice to have it clear.
Okay,
And I don't remember in the past of more than beyond a few years ago.
okay. No, but listen, your point is taken, and we'll look into it, and we'll see what it.
It's not that big of a deal, but it's just, if
Apparently it is,
we're,
but-
if we're gonna be
yeah.
precise, we
What-
should.
We'll look into it, I mean, you know, just for the use of time, I wanna make sure we're.
Maybe we may wanna amend the bylaws
Yeah.
and put member at large or certain specific qualifications.
Yeah, absolutely, I mean, but I wanna make
The
sure.
idea is saying that, I'm an executive member should want a committee, so those require bylaw changes.
Yeah, and that's fine, if, I was, you know, it's a good conversation, not necessarily in the scope of this meeting, I wanna make sure that we're
Right.
respectful and staying in the scope of this meeting. Okay, alright, so, alright, so are we comfortable with the documentation? So we'll get it drafted up, we'll make sure we're able to circulate, and we can wordsmith that, but I think we'll try and get that out as soon as possible. Are there any questions, any information you want to know about the process, or what we need to go forward?
So we gotta pick the dates,
I'm sorry?
we're gonna pick those dates for when to return,
Or to
we have to
respond by?
do
respond by.
Yeah,
So if it's before the what, the June meeting? Is it
The
June?
May-
No,
no, you have to
that'll
meet-
be done before May meeting.
You as a committee will have to meet again, because you have to, you know, just confirm who's responded, who hasn't, and break up the list in terms of figuring out who hasn't, who needs to be contacted.
So this is something that will be done within the next week.
Yeah, the fact is, if we can get this out very quickly, yeah, you might be able
Yes,
to
it's
get this
gonna be
back.
done the next week, you may wanna put it at least a day or two before the May meeting.
Right, now, as a matter of fact, let me do this.
And then after
Just
that-
because one of the considerations we'll have is the availability to make sure that there's a date available.
Well, for to meet, yeah.
Okay, so bear with me 1 second, let me do that very quickly. Now, one of the pieces that I would, that you might wanna have a conversation about is, I know the practice for the last couple of years has been getting little bios from candidates.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can discuss a little bit in terms of if it's something you wanna do again, if there's value to that, if you'd like to have that repeated, and around what time frame you think you might wanna do that.
Oh, that was
Um,
great last year.
Last year, everybody had to send it some kind of a
Right.
bio, but if you went to one.
Yeah,
they
no,
give you a
I
date
think
to
it's helpful,
submit the
I think it's
bio.
It was
helpful to do
great.
that.
And also at the meeting, people were asked
Speak.
to
To
speak.
speak. No, and that's something, it's not in the bylaws, but I think that's been practice where we always say, no, listen, at least address the board.
Mhm.
And I think those we can kind of tweak in terms of understanding how long you want people to speak for. 3 minutes is probably long, because June's gonna be packed.
Yeah.
So between 1 minute and 2 minutes is probably your sweet spot for that, to have all the candidates be able to speak.
Two is long also.
Yes.
I believe so, I believe in brevity, I think that's a, it's a
You
great
wanna
skill.
hear what people have to say. I
But if
really
you
want
give
to.
people for the
But
public.
that's part of the reason
3
why
minutes,
bios
you
is
know,
helpful
you-
as well, because hopefully it gives some information.
One at least.
Give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
3 is long.
Somebody
don't
had
know
to
how
say
long
it.
3 is.
I was gonna
Like
say.
I
Until-
sit there for 3 minutes.
Until you sit there and
Well,
listen
I
to
guess it
3
depends on
and
what you're
3
saying,
and
you know?
3.
You
Yeah.
know, some people go on and on and on.
Okay.
Yeah, the bios, I really like them.
So I had to create a political bio last time.
I don't know, I didn't, I don't, it can be anything you want.
Oh, yeah, I know, but I decided,
Some
let me
people
put a
put in
standard political bio, 2
Very
years,
large,
whatever.
very
and
large
then-
resumes and statements and,
Mhm.
but it's good to see where people stand and
Mhm.
what they're about. It's interesting to get to know people.
I found it really helpful.
Yeah, it is helpful to get to know people and their qualifications. Yes, Mama, we just texted me, he's running for mayor.
That's right, and Scott Stringer.
With Scott Stringer?
Mhm.
Oh, no, I expected Scott
Scott
Stringer
is
to come
running
back.
with,
No,
Stringer?
no,
No, Stringer's running as
and
well.
he's
In
running.
addition
Yes.
to,
I was
My
so
apologies.
disappointed when I heard.
All right, so, and
I
speaking
know,
of Dante,
they don't
May is,
really- Yeah,
May is a tight month. When, I think it's, the 22nd, is that Wednesday?
the 22nd, I would say.
Yeah, so the 22nd looks like the date that would be open for you to come back and reconvene.
Okay.
That's on another Wednesday, yeah. that's-
Yeah.
that's-
And really, honestly and truly, I think after that, I think once you divided up those contacts, I don't think there's a need for you to meet again. The only thing you would need to do after that is just send whoever has responded to the office and they'll compile the report for you.
Right,
So just give the names, these are the contacts, this is it, these are the
so
people.
then the day they have to respond should be before the 22nd,
Correct.
okay.
So since it's electronic, I mean, I guess you can either
Oh,
do
that's
the
pretty
20th or
fast.
21st.
We're gonna have-
It's gonna turn around, no, it's gonna be a very quick
It's
time.
very quick.
That'll be good.
So we're sending the email,
Already
they have to
know.
respond by the 20.
The board
No, no,
office
no.
is sending the email.
The bug will
Okay,
send the
right?
email,
And
maybe,
so then we'll have to call if someone doesn't respond
Right.
between the 21st and the 28th, but really that's the 21st
Oh, no,
and the
no, no,
24th, right?
Yeah.
They called everybody last time because of.
Well, hold on,
constraints.
the meeting's the 28th? You
meeting
really
is
have,
the,
yeah.
is the 28th.
you really have until the 27th.
Well, 3 of those is a long weekend.
Right, the 27th is Memorial Day.
Oh, this is correct.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we're meeting the day after Memorial Day.
Oh, wow,
So the 22nd is the Wednesday before Memorial Day.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
The
It is.
27th is Memorial Day.
Yeah, the 27th is Memorial Day.
yeah, the point being, you lose like almost all that
Mhm.
time after that because that's
But
a
we
holiday.
should try to get everything wrapped up by the Friday the 24th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So because, let's go over the process again.
mhm.
Email, let's say the email goes tomorrow,
which is probably optimistic.
yeah,
Or
let's
by
say.
Friday.
It'll
By
probably go
Friday.
Friday.
That
By
was
Friday.
very good.
Yeah, let's say it goes by Friday.
So
you-
Friday is the 10th.
Friday is the 10th, you may give those people until the 15th or the 16th to respond. And then after that, we could put on the 22nd and finalize everything. Because
Right.
when we come to the main meeting on the 28th, that's when nomination takes place.
Okay.
So
Well,
I think give people 3 or 4 days, if you set it on the 10th,
So the
by the
10th,
15th or the 16th, we should know everything.
okay,
So then, which means the committee will have between the 16th and the 22nd to call and let to confirm who, people who did not respond to that. And then when we meet to the 22nd, we have all the information we need to conduct the election.
okay. I mean, doesn't sound bad to me, but this is for the committee at this point, so I mean.
How many,
I think
how many members do we have?
50.
There are 50, but we have a number. I can't remember what it is offhand. You can knock off at least about 15 to 20, I think we have 15 to 20 new members at least.
Okay,
So
so if you
they
take
would be
that,
ineligible, so it's
Right.
like, it's a small pool we're really looking at.
so there
so
are 5
it's
of us here,
35.
But-
35.
there are 5 of
Can
us
it-
here
could it-
right now.
I have a question. Could a new person nominate somebody who's a seasoned
No, it's
member?
4, 1, 2, 3,
Or
4.
do you have to be on the board?
One person that's
No.
out.
I mean, at this point, I think we're doing
No,
self-nominations because
People can
You're
nominate
like
other
a
people like.
Christmas
Okay,
tree,
Ms.
right?
Westbrook, let me ask
Always
you a
show a picture decoration.
for this stage, because part of what you
My
wanna do is,
decorations.
like, you don't want to, I don't wanna nominate Debbie to do an office and she doesn't want to run, because then that just creates a whole conversation.
Okay.
Self-nominations, at least for this first canvas,
I mean, at the board meeting in May.
Wow.
no, at the board meeting, we can do nominations.
But can a current board.
You're talking
member
about a
nominate
new
that
person
member?
can
Can they
take
nominate?
No, a new person can nominate
So right now
somebody.
it's 4.
Answer my question.
Yes.
Only one is absent.
They can nominate somebody, they are just precluded from running because they're not
75 is
eligible.
They have to be a
35, so
year.
that means
Correct.
we'll be each responsible for 7,
Right.
and they'll let us know what 7, because everything is coming.
Yeah, so it's
back.
not
Well,
really
given
that
the,
many
whatever
people, right?
feedback comes
Right.
back, we'll know who we need to contact.
Right,
Yeah.
Right, and the chair could say, oh, these are, let's say we have 20 people left. You call 5, I call 5, she call 5, call
Right.
5. Within a day, you get it done.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
I think
And
that's
if the other
my,
one
that's my
don't come
experience,
back,
I
we could
remember.
do
when
either.
And to be clear as well, I mean, I think, we put it down as a note, where it's like 2 contacts, so it's like, you know what? If
Tuesday, we might as
if they
well
haven't
decide.
responded to the email and you've left a call, you've made a phone call, left a message, and they haven't responded, you've satisfied your duty, you made the 2 contacts.
Mhm.
And again, anyone after that is still has an opportunity to, when they get to the board meeting, to get nominated. To nominate themselves or be nominated.
Well, I think whoever is sending out the, whoever is sending out the first
Email?
message, email message, maybe need to BCC all the committee members, so that at least we know when it went out.
No, well, all the committee members will get it as well, because you can actually run, all the committee members that can run. So you will get it as part of that distribution, all board members will get it,
Okay,
okay? Again, we're gonna put those provisions in, so that way we'll put it in some kind of nice font. If you're not eligible, just check the box, you're not eligible. Or if you don't wish to be considered, they can check that box, but when you see the email out, go, it went out live to you.
okay.
Okay? Let's-
So,
Alright, now I need-
bless you.
so I'm assuming that once the feedback comes back on whichever date is selected for, you know, the end date for response, then I guess they would let us know whatever information they got back, and we can take it from there.
All right,
So
you want-
the end date could be the 15th or the 16th of next month.
So, right, so the 10th, if it goes out on Friday, and then the 15th, by the 15th for the deadline,
Okay.
Sounds great.
and then meeting on the 22nd.
Mhm.
We're meeting here, right? 22nd at 7?
Correct.
Right, to determine, you know, who we need to call, and guess we can call at that point, or call from home, whichever is more convenient. And, just have the report generated in terms of what the outcome.
And again, the office can compile it, all we need for it to do is for everyone to submit what they've done.
Yeah.
So the office can compile it and this is just in a general form, that's it.
Okay, so I guess everybody can generate or create their own document in terms of who they contact,
Exactly.
maybe on an Excel spreadsheet, the date you contacted those people.
Yeah, I think it's.
Because that's
it
what I
said
did
that-
with the last.
Yep.
Yeah,
with
it
my-
said on an Excel spreadsheet, and then we put it on tape.
The names
I
that
called,
you-
I
yeah.
called Fred on the 21st. I
Right.
called Ms. Almanor on the 20th.
And we all know that they were all emailed on the 10th, so we know that the 10th,
Exactly,
we know
so
that
Contact
phone
one already
call
went out. and
was
that's
done on the
contact
15th or whatever, and, you know, this is the outcome.
Correct.
And this comes back here so that they can generate the report, which would be for the meeting.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
would it be, more efficient if you did the form and shoot it out to us and we just fill in, rather than I'm doing one, sending it, she's doing one, sending it, he's doing one, sending it? What do you think?
No, the form is for the people that you're reaching
Yeah.
out to.
I'm reaching out to them,
Right,
and they've told me yes or no. So
Right.
what form are we talking about?
like an Excel spreadsheet with the 5
Oh,
names
with
or
the-
7 names.
Okay,
Yes, no, I'm not interested,
Okay.
or, and whatever, whether
And
you,
then we're
whether
gonna
you
send
were
that
able
to
to
you.
make contact with that person by phone, or if they didn't respond to the email, so it would be a phone call, and you said, I reached this person on, or called this person on X, Y, and Z
does
date.
that go back to you?
It
or
comes
to
back
us?
here,
I'll put it to the
Good,
office.
got it,
right?
Yep.
So,
okay.
yeah. So
As a matter
that's,
of fact,
yeah.
I talked to Dante, see if they can come up with a contact form for you, so that's something, I don't think you have. to do
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
and
no,
so
we
we
can
can
do that.
just, yeah, so you can just send it to
Yeah.
each one of us. It's, yeah, just simple.
Okay, you can do that,
Yes,
all right.
all right.
Okay, I'm sorry, I know I'm probably going back to a grade recognition.
Nice, I'm the teacher.
Okay.
Yes.
Fred,
So-
it's your turn.
I know that I heard a little bit of, conversation about the bios. So, did you already pick it? Well, actually, I don't think you need to decide that yet.
You did that last year.
We did. I think the bios are after the candidates are actually,
So the name, so that
So
would
we
have
have
to
to-
be
right. So that
after
would
the
be for
June
the-
meeting, after the June meeting.
right.
After the May meeting.
After the main meeting,
After the main
when
meeting,
you
it's
have
the
your declared list of candidates,
Right.
then
that's
bios
for
has
the
to
June
be,
meeting.
so that has to be
Before the
sent
June meeting.
before the June meeting during the election. And during the June meeting, there will be 1 or 2 minutes for them to talk.
Okay, my one suggestion for the May 22nd meeting is you probably wanna discuss what information you want to go out to the board. Now, I say that to say this, I think, one, it's been very helpful over the last few years that we've done it in terms of, and especially I think it's important because we have a large number of board members who are brand new. So they know nobody here, we're all strangers, and, a lot of them, we're strangers to a lot of them. Even some of us who are here, we're strangers to, some of us, we don't know certain things about each other. So it's helpful to kind of, tell people who we are. I think that's just always a good thing, just in terms of understanding who's on the board, what experiences we have, and what we're offering to bring to the table. Now, the only concern I have, this is something I would like to discuss and consider, is we've been having a lot of issues in terms of people trying to use information as a weapon. And, they look at the bios and they wanna dox people, or they wanna say, well, listen, this person works at such and such, and really create
Yeah.
arguments and distractions that are not necessary. So to the extent where I think bios are helpful, we might wanna perhaps create some guidance over, okay, well, listen, these things, yeah, you might wanna, do, but like, I don't think we need to know specifically if somebody works, what their workplace is.
Or who they work for.
Or who they worked for before,
Yeah.
or certain things.
People put in resumes, I think it's up to them.
Here's the thing. Well, the thing is, people, if they wish to offer that, I mean, that's fine. But I also wanna make sure that people are clear that, you know what, a lot of the stuff becomes public information as well.
It is.
And we wanna be careful with that. I wanna make sure we're good stewards of that. For the purposes of our elections, yeah, tell people who you are, if you have a dog, if you're, whatever else, or if you have experience, managerial experience and stuff like that. If you're great at certain things, have certain skill sets, absolutely. But I also wanna make sure that all of a sudden, things get out and all of a sudden people have people coming to their door talking about, well, he's on CV9 and I hate the way he did with this and everything like that. Or using information in ways that we don't intend. Okay, so I'm just putting
I
it.
do remember somebody did request last time that you have a LinkedIn profile,
Yeah.
but I don't have one and I don't wanna get one, so.
Right, and to that
Nobody
extent,
should be forced to submit,
no,
they
agreed,
should submit what they want.
agreed. I mean, I don't think somebody should be forced to do it, and again, like I said, I think there are certain doors we open when we do that as well.
If somebody could submit nothing, I know that's happened as well, for sure,
And that's possible, and that is a possibility as well, but I think,
and they got elected.
I mean, that's what the risk they would want, run, and I mean, I think maybe we just let's set those parameters where candidates, and maybe it's an optional thing, candidates may,
Yeah.
May.
And that would include yourself, because you're gonna, be running for a position.
who told you that?
Well, if you are or you're not, right?
So
You
candidates
sorry,
may
could be-
what? You were
Yeah,
about
May
to.
submit bios.
Right,
They
yeah,
submit
okay.
bios.
It's
May
optional,
submit
you're
bios.
saying it's optional.
It's optional.
All right.
Could we say like 1.5 by 11?
Summary, not a, short bio.
If not bio,
We
then
don't
want to
need
submit
a-
a statement.
Yeah,
I
bios,
let people
statements,
submit
and-
what they want, I really enjoyed reading people's resumes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's fine, I mean, yeah, I mean, and like I said, if people.
Some people wanna get their information out there as well.
They can, I'm just saying is just from the way that we've seen the board.
The
express
possibility.
information.
It's just
I wanna make sure-
avoiding the negative,
Yeah,
Well, you're
Part
saying
of
that
it.
information can be used.
people, right, exactly.
Can be used.
okay, all right, but that could be an item on the agenda, I would recommend that's probably an item on the agenda for the May meeting, the May 22nd meeting.
Yes.
So you can discuss bios, if there's anything you wanna do, if there's any parameters, if it's optional or however you wanna set it.
Bios optional.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Madam Chair.
Okay, so I presume that we're all on the same page here. And, hopefully, each one of us will take on, a role to get this stuff going and, complete it as a whole. And, look forward to working with you guys. So maybe we can talk about what we wanna talk about at this May 22nd meeting today, so that, we can put together an agenda item, which would be helpful. So if anybody has.
Well, I
For the
think-
May 22nd, it's just confirming, what the list of candidates is, that's the main choice.
Yeah,
of
but
the meeting.
Fred mentioned talking about the bios and whether
And
that's.
then
what-
then we'll put that statement about the bios, I think we discussed it already, we simply have to just restate it.
So,
Yes, I would say who replied, right?
right,
Who didn't?
Yeah.
How we're gonna follow up with those who didn't.
And the bios
The bios.
optional.
Thing.
And the fact that, we will not be, responsible if you opt to put it out there. It will not be our moral responsibility if it ends up on somebody's Facebook.
I guess we have to make sure, well, the last time, did everyone get a copy of those, or just the committee?
No, we don't have to board, everyone got it.
If we're voting, everybody's voting,
Everyone
that's
gets a
who it's
copy.
for, the board.
So,
And maybe, Fred, cause you know our members, I love them, but they don't live anywhere, they don't wanna go home. So it's all night, on nothing. I like what you did the last time. Someone kept saying, the clock is ticking, the clock is ticking. Cause
No,
this is probably
because-
the only place we can speak, and we take it forever. And one gentleman has to go home to his baby daughter,
right,
and I have to go to school the next morning.
and we
Fred
have to
has
go to work the next day.
And some people are just inconsiderate when it comes to other people's time. And it's
Totally
things that,
agree.
I don't know, you said water, I want to say water bigger than you, I don't know.
I think
Doesn't
our
make
timing's
sense.
been pretty good this last year compared
But
to
I think-
previous years.
I think the whole thing is, people need to respect, each other and stop trying to talk over each other and focus on the agenda item. And if it's a committee issue, you come to the committee and talk about it. And, sometimes you get, distracted or get a curveball where, one topic that should have been discussed elsewhere is is on the floor and the agenda is there, which is where the focus should be. And, so, I'm a person that chairs a committee and I focus on my agenda. If you want something on that agenda, it should be there before the meeting, so it is on that agenda. Otherwise, it's not a topic for discussion on my agenda. So that's how I focus on that.
I can vouch for that.
But, yeah,
Just one last point, so, definitely we wanna make sure we recorded everything for this evening, so I will take that on me, I'll draft the copy of the minutes, and I'll distribute it to the committee, and if there's any edits or anything that need to be made, you guys can take care of it.
Okay.
okay,
All right,
Well,
yeah, sounds good.
about that.
You're on your own, yes.
Thank you, I think we can do it on our own, I don't think we have a problem with that, so. Just focus on what needs to be done.
So, if it's another motion to adjourn.
So I should put a motion on the floor to adjourn?
I'm putting it.
You're putting it, so I'm gonna second it. Yeah, I think,
Let's take the vote.
yeah, it's good enough time.
That's it.
All right.
That's
Thank
it.
you, guys.
So it is what, 8